The old RuneScape economy is anything if not complex. If you watch my channel for a while, you will realize how quickly things can shift from even minor updates, tweets, and even smaller things than that. But if we look back through the last 10 years of old school, we can find some of the most catastrophic or otherwise strange things that have happened to the economy, normally due to a bug or something jagex did. So today we're going to cover the strangest events in history of the OSRS economy. And back in 2021, during the depths of COVID, a very iconic minigame was added into old school RuneScape, that being Soul Wars. Now this was added to mixed approval, but I don't think anybody realized the ticking time bomb they added in with this update. Now this is because at the beginning of 2023, it would come out that a player or multiple players have been abusing a significant bug that combined Soul Wars and the combat achievements. Now what was this bug and why was it such a big deal? Well, when jagex added in combat achievements, they added in different perks for a bunch of different content in old school. Now the one that's relevant here is the one related to item imbues. If you get the hard combat achievements done, you'll get a 50% discount on the cost to imbue items, and that extends to the Soul Wars shop. So instead of costing 500 Zeal, it would cost 250. But here comes the problem. It appears they forgot to half the amount you get refunded. So by default, you get refunded 80% of the tokens, which would be 400 tokens, but with the hard combat achievements, it would only cost you 250 to imbue it again. So you literally just profit points by refunding it quickly, re-imbuing it, and people were doing this with the Black Mask in particular. So there's no doubt the Soul Wars dupe had some long-lasting and pretty strange consequences for the old RuneScape economy. And if you're a fan of strange things, you can now play as Doctor Strange and dozens of other Marvel heroes and villains in Marvel Strike Force, today's video sponsor. Marvel Strike Force is a mobile squad RPG that allows you to battle with your favorite teams of superheroes or supervillains in a fight to save the universe. There is a ridiculous 300 plus characters to choose from, which if you're a new player, you can unlock about 17 within your first 30 days, including Spider-Man, Deadpool, Thor, Captain America, and this astronaut dog with superpowers, which is apparently called Cosmo. Your goal is to power up your favorite characters, complete missions, unlock gear and other resources, and beat other players in PvP modes such as Alliance, War, and Arena. Alliance War is a massive weekly Alliance battle. You have raids and Cosmic Crucible where you go head to head against other players in a tournament. And whenever you're facing other players, you have to actually be smart, bring characters with good squad synergies, and utilize conventional RPG tactics to stand a chance. This month there's even a brand new game mode called Battle World, which is an exciting new PvE mode where you can participate alongside your alliance. If you are a new or returning player, be on the lookout for some awesome rewards to celebrate Battle World's launch. So there's honestly a ton of content in this game to enjoy, and I would highly recommend giving it a try. Celebrate the spooky season by using the promo code Halloween to receive 100 shards for Zombie Iron Man, 600k gold, and 480 L2 training modules for free. And thank you so much to Marvel Strike Force for sponsoring today's video. So this was essentially an infinite Zeal dupe, or as close to a dupe as you're going to get. They could produce up to 2.7 million Zeal per hour, 200 mil all combat in a matter of hours, and billions dumped in the economy. And that's because you could purchase things called Spoils of War, which contained a bunch of alchables, runes, raw fish, and straight up cash, but essentially this was just mostly pure cash. And that makes it kind of hard to track how big of an effect this had. And we also don't know how long this abuse was in the game for, because it seems like it was possible as early as 2021. Now whether someone discovered it then, who knows, or maybe there was an oversight in a more recent update that caused this issue. If you look at the price of soul runes around when this was posted, you can see that they tanked leading up to January of 2023. Once the bug was patched, they started going back up. But there was an alleged 500 bill dumped into the economy this way, and that all pretty much straight cash, which means that's huge amounts of inflation. And while it's not going to show up as obviously as someone duping a twisted bow or something, a 30 mil per minute, pretty much pure cash moneymaker was pretty devastating for the economy, especially considering they didn't do a rollback and the extent of the damages aren't fully known. So another infamous part of the old RuneScape economy is from almost 10 years ago, actually comes from nearer to the release of old school. Now, most people, when they look at this image, would think there is something wrong or the image is photoshopped, or somehow this person has managed to buy an Elysian Spirit Shield off the Grand Exchange for only 50k. You know, Elysians are definitely worth more today than they were back in 2015, but back then Elysians were still going for 500, 600 mil, so how did one go for pennies comparatively? Now you might think this is a bug, but it's kind of not, albeit it's definitely a weird interaction. Now what this person did is they sold not 1 LE, but 8 LEs in a single offer slot, which is something you can do, but because there's no way to sell 8 LEs at the time for fair market value and not have it go over max cash, some weird things happen. So you can only really sell 3 of them for their normal price before you hit 2.1 bill. From there, the others have to go for less than that or else the offer is completely invalid. So what appears to have happened is some got filled for maybe 50 mil, 100 mil, some got filled for their full price or roughly around 600 mil, but to keep within the parameters of the maximum integer value and max cash, they had to keep getting progressively lower until it finally found an offer for 50k. Now this interaction has happened multiple times across tons of different items as well, and it's really a learning experience into why you don't want to dump billions of GP worth of items in a single offer slot. You might get burned. Now throughout the history of RuneScape, there have been a few pretty infamous duplication glitches going all the way back to when the game was first made. But looking specifically at old school, something happened very recently that could have had a catastrophic effect on the economy and beyond, but something really interesting happened. Jagex unveiled their secret panic button and completely disabled the economy. Now this glitch involved the recent release of Varlamore Part 2 and was related to the new potion storage unlock. Now pretty quickly after the update came out, there was images surfacing of Ironman having over 4 billion GP worth of prayer regeneration potions, which is physically impossible to have on day 1. Now it seems this glitch was caught very early and brought to Jagex's attention, so not too many actually entered the economy, but the interesting thing here is Jagex was able to instantly disable trading, the Grand Exchange, looting, alking, selling to shops, you can't fill looting bags, and pretty much everything became untradeable. And now this is interesting because normally when the game breaks to this extent where there's no way to fix it, they have to do a rollback. And they did end up doing that anyway, but this kill switch is pretty much to ensure that during the 15 to 20 minute, half an hour window before they can actually do the rollback, people don't go crazy and cause some unintended consequences. For example, during other rollbacks, people have been able to purchase bonds with duplicated gold, or try to offload it to RS3 or sell it to gold buying websites, stuff like that. So it appears this is more of a measure to mitigate that than it is to avoid rollbacks, but it's still really interesting and a feature that seems pretty recent because the first time it was used was only like a month ago. Now, one of the most controversial updates in OSRS history has to be Bounty Hunter, something they have changed like a half dozen times. But back in 2019, we got the addition of the infamous Bounty Crate. Now, leading up to 2019, PvP had been under-updated for years, so this is their first major update in a while. However, the reason this update was so controversial is because of how abusable the update was, not only just by gold farmers, but by bots. Now, people use bots in PvP, but the reason this was such a big issue is because not only would you get the items of the person you killed, but you'd also get additional loot in the form of Bounty Hunter points. These points could be used to purchase anything from the Bounty Hunter shop, which included the Bounty Crate. This had supplies like Ceridome Brews, runes, and mysterious emblems. Essentially, it just gave lots of sellable resources. Now, almost immediately, bots were able to take advantage of the Bounty Hunter mechanics. They were very simple to get around, and by bots killing other bots in the same farm, they would generate Bounty Hunter points at an extremely high rate, usually getting over 100k per kill, and could be scaled up to hundreds of millions of GP per hour, while also crashing the market entirely for items on the drop table like Sandfuse Serum, Super Restores, Ceridome Brews, Super Combats, Runes, and Fish. It was abused so badly that just a few days after its release, they disabled Bounty Hunter crates from how much they were getting abused. And they were unfortunately never able to fix them, and they were eventually removed entirely. Now in August of 2016, a pretty unassuming change went through to Barbarian Assault, where they changed the value of the Omega egg from 1 to 100 million. Now that's not the high alch value. You could never high alch an Omega egg, but they changed the value to 100 million mostly just so they would appear on top of a stack of items. Now 4 years later, after this change, there are some rumors about a smuggle involving Barbarian Assault that would allow you to get the eggs outside of the minigame. Now although the eggs couldn't be high alched and turned directly into money, it's been alleged that if you die in PvP, they would get converted to 12.5 mil cash, which would be a GP printing bug, which would devalue the OSRS currency at a rapid rate. Now it's never been 100% confirmed by jagex whether this GP egg smuggle existed, but probably the most damning piece of evidence is in January of 2021, they reduced the item value to 100 GP. So they nuked the value, and the reality is jagex is not likely to acknowledge a GP dupe of this magnitude if there's no way of fixing it. It appears that if this was true, it went on for a year with no feasible way to claw that gold back. But if what people say is true, billions of gold enter the economy this way and could be somewhat responsible for the massive amounts of inflation that we've seen in the price of the RuneScape gold piece. Now probably the most serious event in the history of the old school economy has to be the coin pouch glitch. This was so significant that if they hadn't done a rollback or hadn't been able to do a rollback, the economy of the game would have been permanently ruined. Now the coin pouch glitch happened in 2018 with the addition of course, coin pouch. Now the issue came with how death interacted with the new coin pouch, and when they were coding it, someone was trying to write a check to avoid overflowing the max integer, but did it very wrong. And this caused certain items in your inventory to become a stack of 2.1 bill max cash on death. Now this could have been happening hundreds, thousands of times on the live server, which is actually insane to think about. Trillions of gold probably generated from this glitch. Now obviously it was so significant that jagex took the game servers offline and did a rollback. And it's kind of an interesting thought. Probably the worst glitches on paper in the history of the game weren't the worst for the economy. It's the ones that go under the radar for a long period of time that there's no way to fix. Those probably have the largest effect. Now, not long after this potentially economy-destroying bug comes another of the most iconic oopsies in the history of old school, and that is the Twisted Bow spawn. With the addition of the Farming Guild, somehow a Twisted Bow spawn was left in the live game. Clearly someone just put it down to test something or for fun, but they forgot to get rid of it and nobody noticed. Now this bug was not as widespread as the coin pouch glitch, and they originally were not even intending on doing a rollback. They were planning on removing the Twisted Bows that were obtained that way, deleting coins and platinum tokens and whatnot. But a few hours after the glitch, they gave up on that idea. I think it was just too difficult. And their temporary solution was literally to put a bush down in the way, which is comical but effective. And eventually this resulted in the second ever rollback in the history of the game. Now I remember the price of Twisted Bows crashed to like 100 mil or something. I think people were a bit nervous on buying them because jagex stated they were going to take action against people who abused the bug, which probably would have involved people purchasing contraband Twisted Bows, but in the end it all got rolled back and the price is reset. So throughout the 10 plus years old school has existed, there have been some catastrophic events in the economy, but those that probably cause the most damage are those unseen, and we can only speculate on how much damage they might have caused. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.